Okay, good morning, friends. Shalom Aleichem. We're continuing Mishnah Berura Daf Hashem. We're up to Siman Kuf Chav Ches, Seif Chav Beis. Mishtadlin Shehei Hamakre Yisrael. We try that the feeder, the one who calls out the words of Berchas Kohanim, we try that he should be a Yisrael. Uchshachazan Koyin, if in the event the Chazan is a Koyin, Yamoid Yisrael Etzlai, you should appoint a Yisrael next to him, V'yikra Kohanim, and you should call out Kohanim, V'yakre Oisam, and he should be Makri, and the Chazan Oimid V'shoisek, the Chazan stands next to him and he is silent. So it's ideal that the Makri is a Yisrael, and therefore if the Chazan is a Kohen, you appoint someone to be the Makri, he calls out Kohanim, and the Chazan is silent. It says in Mishnah Berura Shei Hamakri Yisrael Ken Kasav Rambam. So says the Rambam, Va'asmacha Akra, it is leaning on the pasuk Shenemar Amar Lahem Meklal She'ein Hamakra Mehem. Meaning, why can't you have a Makre who's a Kohen? Because it says Amar Lahem, which means the Makre should not be from among them. He should be someone else. Ulafiza, according to this, Lafi Minhagenu, Shahashatsu Makra, according to this, according to our Minhag, that the Shatz is a Makre. Therefore, you need to try that the Chazan should not be a Kohen. What about a Katan? Could a Katan be a Makri? The Pri Megadim says a Katan should not be the Makri. It's not covered at Tzibor. So what about having a Katan to be a Baal Makri for Tkiyah Shofar? L'chara the same thing. If it's for the Tzibor, then it's not covered for the tzibur that the katan should be the Baal Makri. If it's for an individual, then maybe it would be okay. That is the whole Berchas Kohanim word by word. The Chazan stands and he is silent. The Chazan stands and he's silent. Purest ad Gemara Berchas Kohanim. Avo misimshal ve'ich yomer Chazan ma'atzmai. From Simshal on, the Chazan will say it himself. V'nei kol din zeh shel hamachaber hiskimu achronim she'en zeh rak lecharchila. This whole din of the machaber, the achronim concur, is only lecharchila. Avo b'she'en shami she'yadei lahakros. But if you don't have someone who knows how to read to feed the words, then the Shatz himself should do the job. It says Amar Lahem. It's just an Inyan va'asmachul akra. If you look at the Sha'ar Tzion, he brings that this is the opinion of the Eliyah Rabbah, Pri Chodesh Ma'ar Mordechai Nar Shom Chaman Moshe, not like the Taz, who says that if you don't have a Yisrael Baal Makri, they should make the bracha without hakra. And the Graz says the Iker is not like the Taz. What would the Taz hold? The Taz l'char holds, what's the whole makar that you have to be makri in the first place? Amar Lohem. So from that very pasuk of Amar Lohem, it says that the makri has to be not among them. In other words, the Taz says you can't have your cake and eat it. You want to have a makri, and you want the makri to be a kohen. The whole source of having a makri is the pasuk Amar Lohem. So that pasuk says Meklal she'ena makri mehem. But I think the reason why the Achronim disagree is that there are two parts of Amar Lahem. The din that you have to call out to them, that's me'ikar hadin from Amar Lahem. That's what the pasuk means. Amar Lahem means you have to call out to them. There's asmachuha, an inyan, that it should be someone other than the Kohanim. But that din from Amar Lahem is not as vital as the first din that you need to call out to them. Okay. Sif Chav Gimel. Bisha Shakayhan.
Is he Yisrael Achuki and Levi? Or means he's not a Kohen?
Chayra, not a Kohen. Okay. Siv Chav Gimel. Bisha Shakayhan mevarchim ha'am lo yabitu v'lo yasichu daitem. When the Kohanim are mevarich the people, they should not gaze and they should not divert their attention. In other words, it's not a time to have a thumb wrestle under the talis. You know, we know what's going on there under the talis. The cameras in the shul, you know, actually are able to see through the talis. It's actually, if we would publish it, it would make some very good footage of what people are actually doing there under the talis. Ela yu eineim klape mata, their eyes should be facing below. K'moshe amid betfila. And the people should be mechavin to the bracha. V'yu pneiim k'neged pnei hakohanim. They should be face to face. V'lo yistaklu bahem. They should not gaze at the kohanim. So in other words, let's say you have a bunch of kids under the talis, and to make room, one of them wants to turn the other direction to you. No, you have to face the kohanim. Hagav v'gam hakohanim lo yistaklu b'ydeim. The kohanim too should not gaze at their hands. Al kei noagu l'shalshal hatalis al pneim. Therefore, the custom is to drape the talis over their face. V'ydeim chutz l'talis, with their hands outside of the talis. V'yesh mekom shenogish yem b'fnim min hatalis. Some places, the minhag is to have the hands within the talis, shelo yistaklu ha'am bahem, so that the people should not look at them. Okay, I think what most Kohanim do is they keep it in the talis, but they drape it over their face, and they drape it over their hands. Okay, kamosha amid betfila. In other words, your eyes should be down. Klape mata shari mispalim shevarach Hashem yisbarachas Yisrael, because they are davening that Hashem should bless Yisrael. Meaning the Kohanim should have their eyes down. Why? Why should they have their eyes down? The Kohanim are not actually blessing the people. The Kohanim are not giving the bracha. The Kohanim are the conduit of Hashem's bracha. Their job is to pray that Hashem blesses the people. So therefore they should stand as if they would be omid betfila. V'lo yistaklu bahem. They should not gaze at them. They should not look at the face of the Kohanim and not at the hands of the Kohanim. The reason is we don't want them to divert their mind from the bracha. Now, what is the halacha if the people under the talis, they said, you know what? I'm enjoying the quiet time, the downtime. It's cozy here, you know. And they get distracted. They start thinking about something else, and they're not paying attention to a specific word. Shlomo Zalman is masupik whether they're mekayim the mitzvah. Could be they're mekayim the mitzvah, like in Alexandria, where they would wave the sudar at the end of each bracha, as long as you could. And you can answer amen even though you didn't hear it. However, if you were meisiach das to something else, you thought about your job, your work, and you forgot for a moment you're in the shul and you're during Berachos Kohanim, then the Yisraelim would not be mekayim the mitzvah, they would lose the mitzvah. So says the Mishabura, the reason not to gaze at the hands and the face of the Kohen is not because there's some kind of kedusha on their hands or the face, because we're not in the Beis HaMikdash. It's so you don't get distracted. You hear this? Contrary to public opinion, that the reason you're not to look at the hands of the Kohen is because there's some kind of spooky holiness on the hands of the Kohanim. That's when the Beis HaMikdash stood. That does not apply Bizman Hazeh. It's so you don't get distracted. V'im kein kol shekein shlo yistaklu makam acher. And certainly you should not look elsewhere. This is not the time to take out a sefer or to go through some book that you wanted to read under the talis. According to this, it's only that you can't gaze intently at the hands or the face of the Kohanim, so you don't get distracted. But if you wanted to look, it would be mutter. Dafka when the Beis HaMikdash stood, and they were mevarich with the shem, and the Shechina rested on their hands. So Bizman Hazeh, is it mutter to look at the face of the kohen? Yes. Are you allowed to look at his hands? Yes. You just can't gaze intently. As a zecher to the mikdash, the minhag is we don't look at all. Now,
are the hands or at the general appearance under the talesim?
At the hands or the face. You want to know, now that they're under the talis, could you look at it? Why not? But nobody would do it. Everyone's scared to do it. Nobody would dare do it. Because people think they're going to melt and turn into... we don't even have to tell people not to do it. Why? Because it's not in the Mishnah Berura. If it's not in the Mishnah Berura, it must be really chamor. But once it's a halacha, it becomes more lenient. But are you allowed to, Be'ikar Din, are you allowed to look at the hands? You're allowed to. Why don't we? Zeich LaMikdash. You say, what do you mean? Isn't there a shiur that even Bizman Hazeh, there's kedusha? Yeah, that's a shiur. Now we're learning halacha. So is there an inyan not to? Al pi Kabbalah? Yeah. Does that have halachic ramifications? No. But does the Kabbalah say, still don't look at the hands? Yeah, but the Mishnah Berura doesn't bring it down.
But where did it come from for the tzibur also to go into the talesim when the Kohanim are already covered?
Where did it come from? It's family time, quality bonding time. You don't have to do it. You don't have to. Obviously, the air quality under there, with 9 people under it becomes very pleasant, but it's shaloi yasiach daitai. Okay, v'gam ha-kohanim, gam zeh mishum hesach hadas. The kohanim also should not gaze. This is going on Sivkatan Tzadi. The kohanim should not look at their hands. Why? Same reason, they'll get distracted. Al keinoagu, therefore they drape their hands on their face they drape the talis on their face and their hands are outside. And says the Mishnah, minhag zeh yoser nachen. This is more correct. The more correct way to go is hands out of the talis, which is probably where the minhag came from for the people to be in the talis, because really the hands are supposed to be out of the talis. However, the Kaf HaChaim and the Aruch HaShulchan says the nispashet aminog sheyadayim mechusis betalis. Basically, you should not be mishana mi minhag hamakam, but the more correct way to do it is hands out of the talis. V'idei mechutz betalis darchei Moshe moisif shegam ha'am noegin l'chasis pnei betalis. The Rama adds that the people should also cover their face with the talis kedei shelo yuchal estakel b'dei hakohanim.
That's based on a minhag of the hands being out of the hands of the Kohanim being out of the talis.
Rav Moshe says that this custom is not obligatory. Why? How could you tell everyone they have to cover their face with a talis when the Bachrim are not misatef with a talis? But if you're able to, you should. So is there any reason the Kohanim should cover their hands and the people should cover their face? Probably not. Well, what would the nafkamina be? Let's say you go to a Sephardi minyan and they do Berchas Kohanim. So, I don't know, if they keep their hands in their talis, do you have to put your head in a talis? I don't think so. Right, the Darchei Moshe is saying, Lefi what the Rama said, Al kei nogel shash talis al pneim v'deim chutz talis, shegam am nogel chutz talis kedei sheyuchlu. Or unless it's together, so that you don't come to do it, even though the hands of the Kohanim are covered. Okay, in any event, we're up to Sif Chav Daled. We'll pick it up from here tomorrow, Bez Hashem. Kol Tov. Be well.